Yeah, for sure. So how was it based on you learning and practicing your own spirituality more that your idea of God changed as you developed? Or?
I think so. I think, I mentioned that period where I feel I'd sort of lost God for a while, and I was sort of totally wrapped up in activism, just doing things.
Yeah.
And I was doing good things, but that was my whole life. And I had to sort of step back, and I was sort of in my mid-30s by then, and going into my 40s a bit later. And I was really lucky to have had two great formational experiences where I was given time out from my teaching and running schools to go away and do a course. And then that was the first one where I had that experience I described earlier. And then when I was about in my mid-40s, I got the chance to go to Boston, study at Boston College and do a master's degree in basically in spirituality. And that was just such a gift.
Yeah.
Such a great gift time out, because it wasn't all just academic. I actually did spiritual, I took what we call spiritual direction. It's a bad word.
Yeah.
It sounds like someone tells you what to do. It actually should be called spiritual accompaniment,
right?
Where someone sits with you and listens to you and just reflects back to you, so you make your own thinking and decision about where you are in your relationship with God. And that's really, I found that really powerful. That's why what I'm studying now is to become one of those sorts of people myself.
Right.
But back then, what helped me was going through it and receiving it.
Absolutely.
And I began to see that God was completely different. A bit like you, I think you mentioned in your early life, you went through this fear factor of God.
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit in me too. When I think back to the young me, I was sort of never quite good enough.
Yeah.
I was always thinking, I'm never quite good enough. My life isn't perfect. I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And you sort of come to realise that that's irrelevant. That's the human condition. That if this force in the universe, this God, is totally loving, then you don't have to prove yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to be open.
And I think for me it was I was constantly trying to prove to myself that I was good enough,
Yeah.
And I think the disillusionment I had then was that if I was trying to prove something to myself all the time, I didn't really know who I was, And by coming to understand, me at a deep level, I hope that always progresses, and I hope in 10 years' time I look back on this episode and go, wow, I didn't know who I was then, But could end up being...
It's a lifelong process.
That's right.
I'm still getting there myself.
Yes.
I'm a lot older than you.
That's right. No, but I was trying to prove these things to myself that, didn't really tie into who I really was, or I guess didn't really sit with me well. And of course they were never going to be good enough, because they were leading me down a path that I really feel meant to pursue, I guess. Yeah.
And also we can't reach perfection. It's impossible as human beings.
Yeah, and nor should we want to, because then if we're perfect, I mean, I'm perfect, but I don't know about you, Johnny, but then...
Still working on it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, the hair's looking good. That's right. So, what about a time? So you've surpassed the 30s. You've found God in your life again as well.
Refound God. Yep.
Refound God.
Yep.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yep, that's all right.
Were there any other testing times? Did you ever have any sort of testing moments?
Yeah, I guess so, but not dramatically so. But life always throws up its little challenges. There were times when I was disappointed that I thought I might have got this position or that position and I didn't get it. And you've got to cope with that and say, it just wasn't meant to be. There's something else will come along. And so there's little setbacks like that. I was lucky that my parents lived both on until I was fairly old. My mother only died 4 years ago. And loss of parents is always something you've got to stop shooting your tracks. And,
of course.
And makes you think about it, what life's all about, where you're going. So there were little things all along the way that I had to sort of cope with and come to grips with. But I think I've probably been fairly lucky that I haven't had major crises to cope with. Probably the worst was when I finished my studies in Boston. I got really sick, and no one could diagnose what was wrong with me. And that's when I started to question myself. I thought, is this all mental? Oh, sure it wasn't, but you have to ask that question. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I'd been bitten by a tick.
Yeah.
And they found out I had something called rickettsia, but it was 7 years later before I was diagnosed. So I had to just slowly go through feeling not great, slowly recovering, coping with life. And that was a bit of a test.
Wow. Yeah.
Until I finally thought, good, that's what I've got. You take an antibiotic and you start to improve.
Wow. So how quickly did you improve? Just what, a week or something? Or
Sorry?
did you improve within a week? Or
No, it was slow and gradual.
Yeah, right.
It was just one of those things, once it gets into you, what it does is the tick dies after a while, but it sets off an infection inside of you,
Right.
and it taxes your energy levels, and you just feel pretty lousy.
Yeah.
And I was back at a school and working and trying to fulfil expectations and feeling as though my energy levels were about zero.
Yeah.
I found that hard.
That's
cope
fair.
with. Yeah, hard to cope with. But I was conscious that as each year went by, I was getting a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then when I finally realised, when this clever doctor came along, he said, "I think I know what you've got," and gave me the blood test.
Really?
Things improved
Yeah.
quite dramatically. But that tested my sense of self-belief and my faith and everything else, struggling with that illness for a while until I got on top of it. So that's probably the worst thing I've had to cope with.
Sure. Yeah. And so when those little tests do come about, we mentioned before meditation,
Yeah.
and all different sorts of things.
Okay.
How do you? What are your practices? I guess.
Well, the big thing that came from those times out I had was I discovered a totally new form of praying, and it's called in the Catholic tradition centering prayer, or you can just call it meditation. But it's virtually sitting, sitting in a chair with your back straight, in a quiet, private place for about 20 minutes, and usually you get a mantra or something you say quietly to yourself, which is a bit similar to, I think, to the Buddhist meditation you were talking about.
And the Buddhist meditation.
But